So, this is part 4 of how I was assaulted by a star football player when I was in college. We had been in a relationship for maybe a year or so, give and take. We had broken up over the Christmas holiday, and pretty much shit hit the fan. In the last part, I described how the football coaches had walked him through my apartment, right past me with bumps and bruises and stuff all over my face and down my legs for where he had assaulted me, so that he could retrieve items, namely some money that he had stashed away in my apartment while we were on break, so that he could register for classes and be eligible to play. So here is the turning point for me where I realized that I am way over my head and this situation was way bigger than an issue that was between me and this young man. Like at this point, I am in a battle with the entire football program of my school. And I needed to grow up real fast before I either got myself in a bunch of trouble or got myself hurt or both. And it was when they were walking out the door after they let him go back in my room and get what he needed to get. And they kind of filed out the door. And there were like one of them were back there with him. So they walked him through the hallway and through the front door. And there were one or two of them that were in the living room area sitting with me while I was sitting on the couch waiting. As they walked him out the front door, the last one to leave was one of the coaches. And as he was walking out, he turned around and he looked back at me and he looked at me with this look, this smirk, this, I don't know, it's hard to describe, just this look that told me that I was in trouble. Like the look, it's hard to describe, but it sent literal chills down my body. And I knew at that point that this wasn't over. It was not a look of concern, which I don't know, it kind of be expected for me. I mean, I'm standing there, like I said, I've got clear bumps and bruises on my face. Okay, not to mention the ones that are down my side and down the side of my leg. Like you can see that I have been in a tussle at this point. And it wasn't a look of concern. It was not, I don't know. It just let me know that, hey, you better get your shit together. You better think fast and you better do it now because this is not over. And, at this point, this God knows that he is protected. Yeah, he's definitely protected. He went to jail overnight. And here it was like first thing in the morning, literally. And they were at my door to retrieve his items. So he spent very little time in jail. I doubt if he even stayed overnight. They got him out. And, they clearly had priorities, and the priority was not to ensure that this guy never did this to somebody again, or, their priority was not our safety. He clearly was not detained anymore. He would be going to classes. I would be going to classes. My roommates would be going to classes. And the situation just took a huge turn for me at that point. It literally hadn't been 24 hours since this guy had put his hands on me. And he was already out of jail. And the football coach's main concern was, would he be able to play in the game on Friday? So at that point, I took the initiative. I called my aunt because keep in mind, as I said in the other part earlier, my parents were out of town, and I didn't want to, call them and give them information or news that they really, not that they wouldn't drop everything that they were doing to get to me, but, it was going to be a bit harder. My auntie was about 2.5 hours away. They were in Florida somewhere. So, I didn't want to give them information that they couldn't really act on as fast right now. Like, I already knew how my parents were, and I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be a worry for them yet. So I called my auntie first. She tells me, get in your car, come home immediately. She's crying, I'm crying. I hop up in my car and I make the 2.5 hour drive home to safety. On the way home, my auntie immediately springs into action. Like, that's just the type of person she was. That's why I called her first. And she calls the athletic department and she's trying to get information on what happened. And they inform her that he has disappeared yet again. They they cannot find him. They have no idea where he's at. And if we see him before they can find him, then give them a call because they want him to register for classes so that he can play Friday. I'm going to have to make a part 5.